Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. I'm Dr. Mary Finley-Brook, and welcome to our Symposium on Environmental Racism. This is a timely topic, of course, when many are today at the governor's mansion asking for the resignation of Governor Northam. In fact, many of the people who we'll be hearing from today have actually been at events there this morning, and that's one of the reasons why we perhaps don't have as many people here today as we would normally. But events there are winding down, and they will be joining us as they can. So today you are going to hear about the work of many fantastic community organizations. I want to start first by acknowledging that there is one organization that provided a deep tap root for this event. The roots of this event have been growing for decades in Southeast Newport News. Alongside Mr. Linwood DeBrew, our honored elder. And I'm sure you'll be hearing a little bit more about him today. The foundation for this event started back in 2011 with the formation of the Southeast Care Coalition under the leadership of Angela Harris, who is our second to last panelist on the end. All along, there's been the support of Mustafa Santiago Ali, who is here in the audience with us. He's on our second panel. He was then with the Environmental Protection Agency, and he's now with the Hop Caucus, and we will be hearing about that in our second panel. To be clear, this event never would have happened except for this strong, powerful woman, Angela Harris, working nonstop for her community for the last 18 years, bringing us all together here today. And I've had the fortune of working with Angela and some of the children that we're going to be hearing from today for the past 4 years. And we're going to be collaborating for many more. Isn't that right, Angela? We're the same age, and we're going to be at this until we retire. That's right. There are several other strong women who made this event possible right here on campus. Holly Blake and the WILL program, which I want to do a round of applause for, because Holly worked brilliantly and persistently to pull this event together in record time, and I absolutely appreciate it. Speaking for myself and all of the panelists, we deeply are grateful for the support from the University of Richmond, seeing that you value this work. We received support from across campus for this event. So co-sponsors are WILL, the Department of Geography and the Environment, the 1992 Environmental Studies class gift. Thank you, alums. Center for Civic Engagement, West Hampton College, the Chaplaincy, American Studies, Women, Gender, and Sexuality Studies, Rhetoric and Communication Studies, and the Dean's Office. Lots of support. Thank you. This event is part of UR's 2018-2019 one-book lecture series for When They Call You a Terrorist, a Black Lives Matter memoir. There's a lot of great events happening this Black History Month and throughout the rest of the semester. We had several fantastic events last term, so we encourage you. I know there's a lot of people from the community today to join us for those. We also have two community partners co-sponsoring this event with us. The first is the Virginia Environmental Justice Collaborative, which I serve on the steering committee representing academia. The collaborative is made up of 20 civic organizations from across the state, and our coordinator, Queen Zakiya Shabazz, will be with us later today after being in the events outside the Capitol this morning. So you'll be able to meet her and talk with her later if you would like. She's been on campus a few times in the last year. So both panels are moderated by Virginia Interfaith Power and Light, VAIPL. A co-sponsor of this event, a partner of mine, a partner of the Center for Civic Engagement, and of the Bonner Center. The first panel is moderated by Kendall Crawford, who's on the end. And I am very proud to say she's a Spider and an alum. She graduated from our Nonprofit Studies Master's Program in 2018. Yay! Kendall is the director of Virginia Interfaith Power and Light, and she serves with me on the Virginia Environmental Justice Collaborative Steering Committee representing the faith community. So this is how the symposium is going to work today. For the next 70 minutes, we're probably down to about 60. There'll be a Virginia panel made up of community members in Newport News and Union Hill. They've been working with my students and interns this whole year on renewable energy pilot projects, which you will be hearing about. Starting at 1:30, we're going to continue with a panel of our mentors who are national leaders and innovators in climate justice and environmental justice. So Mustafa Santiago Ali, Reverend Woodberry, Swami Dayananda, and Yasin Shabazz. So we're starting this first panel with an introduction by geography and Will student Cadest Jire, who I've had the fortune to mentor for the past 2 years in her internships, including a civic fellowship this past summer with Kendall Crawford and the Virginia Interfaith Power and Light. We'll move from Cadest's introduction to the panel. Cadest and I will be collecting feedback from the audience in about 30 minutes. If you noticed, there was some note cards. Anybody who would like to give us a question, we're going to be compiling those so that we can bring forward questions to the panelists as a coherent few set of questions at the end. So please contribute your ideas, and we'll be pulling those together. The other way, and please write short, legible questions so that we'll be able to do that quickly. You're also being asked to provide feedback on the sheets. They're hanging on the doors in the back. Moving forward from this event, we'd like to see campus and the community continue to work on environmental justice, and we'd like to see you share your ideas on how you think that is possible. So with that, I welcome you to our first panel, Virginia's Just Energy Transition, Past, Present, and Future. Thank you for being here.
Hello, everyone. Happy Black History Month. My name is Cadest, and I'm a junior studying geography and the environment at UR. This past summer, I had the opportunity to be a CCE fellow. I wanted to take the opportunity to be able to engage with the grassroots organization that are working to fight environmental racism. Knowing my interests, Dr. Finley-Brook introduced me and connected me with Virginia Interfaith Power and Light. My fellowship with VIPL allowed me to meet elders and activists. I was able to join the fight to keep Union Hill pipeline and toxic free. I worked with faith leaders to write about the issue of environmental racism and canvassed with petitions. The most rewarding experience was working with the amazing women of Buckingham, the leaders of VIPL, and other women environmental activists. However, I also know that women, specifically women of color, are left out of the broader environmental platform. So I also organized a community celebration and discussion to amplify the voices of women of color that are fighting environmental racism. My fellowship with VIPL allowed the organization to become a community partner with U of R. I still continue to work with VIPL as an intern. I share my experience with you today as an example of a way students can be involved in the fight for environmental justice. We who are part of a privileged institution need to help amplify the voices, the innovation, the entrepreneurship of marginalized communities. This is a movement for the safety of our future, and we need to take action. Thank you.
I'm super proud of Cadest, and I have to say, read her opinion piece in the Collegian today. It came out, it's about this event, so please read it.
Well, thank you so much, Mary and Cadest. I want to applaud you all, especially and Angela, for all the time it took to put this wonderful event together. I'm just so thankful to have been invited today as a moderator, and just especially feeling that this is a relevant time that we are having this discussion and gathered in this room today. I'm just hoping that this will be a space of sharing and healing so we can continue on with this justice work. So without further ado, I won't stand between you and the panelists the amazing panelists that we have for you today. Unfortunately, one of them was unable to make it, Mr. Milton Bullock, who was also from Newport News, but he sends his regards and apologies. Our first panelist today is Angela Harris. Now, she is someone who I've had the pleasure of knowing for, I feel like, almost my whole life. I grew up, I'm in Richmond now, but I grew up down in Hampton Roads, and Angela's always been an amazing community activist and champion for Newport News and her family. She's the director of the Southeast Care Coalition and owner of HHRA LLC, a solar business, and she, of course, is the founder of All From One Incorporated. She has a passion for the youth, and I see that she's brought a few bright young leaders with her today. Do you want to do a quick intro for the young folks that I see?
Well, you know how we do it. Am I on? My name is Angela Harris. I'm born and raised in Newport News, Virginia, and I greet you in honor of my ancestors and my elders from Newport News, Virginia, the Newport. Nothing else but the Newport. Newport News is one of the three slave ports in what we know to be the United States of America. I'm so proud to be sitting here in 2019 representing ninth generation after Reconstruction. And what I learned when I went to the Buckingham County, that we should be saying the Freedmen's Community. I learned that from my elders. I take pride in what I do. I met Mary 4 years ago. When you come to Newport News, I require that you don't just parachute in. I require that you come to see your toxic stuff, but I also require that you do the historical tours. It's very important that we do the historical tours. Again, Hampton Roads is the first. So when you talk about a historical family battle, like a family feud, in my area of Hampton Roads, which is now what used to be called Tidewater, we used to be a part of the 804. Now we're 757, and we still claim Doug Wilder as a Newport News native. So y'all have him, but we love him. So make sure you know that too. But definitely proud to be a part, ninth generation after Reconstruction, and to be honored enough to have my elders to teach me 25 years ago what I need to do to teach this next generation, and to also stay in place for the young professional people. Kendall, like Dr. Holloman, we can't have this conversation without mentioning Dr. Holloman. Dr. Holloman is the first African-American woman to graduate from VIMS in environmental science. During Dr. Holloman's studies, she came through Hampton University first, then she went to William & Mary, where she graduated as the first. We were blessed to have that sister come through the Moton Community House, and I would do myself no honor without honoring Mr. Linwood DeBrew. Mr. Linwood DeBrew has been in place for over 48 years. His birthday was yesterday, and before we pulled out, we actually stopped by with all the babies, and we sung happy birthday to my brother. I also will not be, right unless I honor Brother Dale Nixon. Brother Dale Nixon, outstanding Bucks, has been on the beat. I want to say 25 years with an organization called the Community Builders Network, and we're honored and proud to have the brother come and assist us with the children. And if my babies can come on, stand on up, because y'all ready to take this thing over in 1 second. We're also honored to have Brother Marlon. Brother Marlon, I met with Brother Woodberry, so when we talk about networking and contact sport, it's important. My brother has his book. Raise your hand, Marlon. He drove up to be with us so that he could talk about the book a little bit, and he's also going to be working with the garden program. We have a school. I said we have a school. That means we're going to collectively think of what we're going to put in the school to help these children. If education is the problem, then we need to be the solution. We also have my brother, one phone call, always Brother Leo Woodberry and his sidekick, Miss Loretta. We love you. I know you drove all night. I don't know what she's drinking, but she's getting younger and younger. Stop that. We also have my brother Yasin. My brother Yasin and I, we were pleasure to have Brother Woodberry lead the way in solar, and we actually went down to South Carolina. I think it was 5 states, and I'm sure he's going to talk about that when he talks. But let's start with my babies. I need to get up for a minute. All right. We believe in teaching our babies young, right? So in Maxwell, I don't know if y'all had the Reverend Maxwell's first campaign. I do all the political campaigns. I do it because I know it needs to be done. We teach them from the root to the tutor. I do the Civics 101. I do the Civics 101 with the babies. We make sure that we teach them how and who's responsible for what they do in our community. We believe in accountability, not only for others, for ourselves too. So I'll pass the mic. Nasia know what to do. I'm going to sit down, and I'm going to show y'all what y'all showed us. Woodberry, thank you. Mustafa, thank you. Mary, thank you. Yasin, thank you. Brother, thank you. You already know. I don't even want to tell you his age right.
Hello, my name is Nasir Quick Harrison. I'm the youth leader of the Southeast Care Coalition.
My name is Lauren. I'm 8 years old. My name is Kayla, and I'm 5. My name is Diamond, and I'm a part of the Southeast Care Coalition.
My name is Tayshawn. I'm a part of the Southeast Care Coalition.
And we could not do this without this young lady right here. So this young lady helped collect 1,000 petitions with these children and others. We have 20 children in our group. Kendall, boots on the ground, drove down. We were able to collect 1,000 petitions so that we can get that executive order, so that we could talk about what we need to be doing about what is asthma? I can't hear you. So we have that cool little chart. I forgot the name of, y'all know? The what? Air quality index chart. And what is that? It's a chart that shows you the air pollution in your state. Right. So if someone had asthma, right, and they wanted to know how and when to go outside, is it some kind of way? Where can they find that information to make sure?
You can hear it on the radio,
On the newspaper, on a book, on the TV,
On the internet.
All right. And they're talking about the air quality index chart. So we're dealing with, in Virginia, an asthma problem. We're dealing with a stroke problem. We got diabetes. And a lot of us know that a lot of our houses in the urban and low-income communities were built on contaminated land. So we call it our children the citizen scientists. We want to thank everyone, because it takes all of us to put it in, to make sure we're doing things right. So I'm going to pass the mic, and y'all can share some of the programs that we do in the community. And we believe in teaching them how to fish. So if you go into the gardens with our babies, they're going to teach you something. Tell them Mary enough. I met Teo, Elvis. So it's a family affair over here. And we believe in family and family first for all maintaining is legally yours. Let's talk about some of the things we do.
Okay, so some of the things we do is summer programs, homeless programs, gardening programs. We do fishing programs, and we help the community, elderly and young. We deliver 1,000 petitions for Molly Ward. I have spoke at the school board meeting about closing Huntington down because it's a black memorial school.
we travel and we talk about asthma. We grow gardens, and then we pick them, and then we put them in the sink, and then we take them home. Well, we make our own books.
We did a program, a homeless program. We was homeless for a week to see how it feels to be homeless.
So you can see they're well-rounded. We have so many issues in our community, and we don't like to just highlight them. I'm 46 years old, so we talk about solutions. And we also bring our children out to this university and others to make sure that wonderful people like Dr. Mary Finley, University of Richmond, I see you. We want to thank you for having us here, because it's important that you hear from the people that's affected by this stuff so that we don't have someone speaking for us. We don't want no one parachuting in our community. And even if you come, we know you have an agenda, and we have a quid pro quo, something for something. right? Just as simple as that. It's real. We love each other. But we have to make sure that we are engaging the children, teaching them while they're young, keeping it real, keeping it real, keeping it real, right? Exposing them and letting them listen to our elders so we can learn from their mistakes and they can learn from our mistakes. It's important. And we need to understand that injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. What y'all want to say?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our next panelist is Richard Walker. He is the CEO and founder of Bridging the Gap in Virginia. He's originally from Buckingham County and is an advocate for the defense of his freedmen family's land and heritage. He is the 5th generation of freed slaves from a Union Hill family that has owned land there since 1885. He has been advocating against Dominion Energy's efforts to seize their family inheritance through eminent domain. Richard?
Good afternoon, everyone. Glad to Dr. Mary Finley for bringing this all together in a short notice. We've been like on a tailspin for the last 4 days, in mass confusion on, well, we're supposed to be on a webinar today, we're supposed to be here tomorrow, we need to call here this afternoon, you need to be on this group text message, you need to, so it's been, I tend to get things confused in a quick moment, so I had to call on my friends Lakshmi and call Dr. Mary up to make sure that I'm where I'm supposed to be and doing what I'm supposed to be doing. As Kendall indicated, I'm 5th generation, great-great-grandson of Taylor Harper, who, as a freed slave through the Emancipation Proclamation, some 20 years thereafter, he was able to purchase his land for $15, and this was in 1885. That land has been passed down from generation to generation to generation, where I said I'm a 5th generation. There are 3-4 more generations behind me that have a part of this legacy, a part of this inheritance. So it has become my God-given right and my family's right that my family has sort of kind of told me that you're going to represent our family in stopping Dominion from trying to seize our land. They want a 0.79% of an acreage in our land where the current Transco pipeline already exists. The compressor station from the point of where they want the easement on our property is about from here past that door, that I can conceivably throw a rock that close to it, that where the compressor station is to be built. Now, within a quarter of a mile from the compressor station, I have several other family members and other community members that reside there. And our fight is to stop that compressor station, knowing that they took a historically African-American community that they are below the poverty line, they have a lot of illnesses and sicknesses, that they purposely routed through there because they figure that there's a bunch of dumb country blacks that we don't have to worry about them, we can get around them. And that's what they did to bring that pipeline, to bring that compressor station in that community. You wanted a definition of environmental racism? It's right there in Union Hill. It's right there being promulgated by Dominion Energy. It's right there being promulgated by, I want to say, former governor. I'd like to believe former governor, because he denied individuals that were on the air board, and he had them removed You know, and as far as I'm concerned, that is all a part of Dominion's environmental racism, along with, I want to say, our former Governor Northam, you know, hopefully after the end of the day. So it's been a issue with my family to not allow them to seek this property through eminent domain. We are currently in a fight with them in the Western District in Roanoke to stop this. I'm believing that the action that has been happened over this past couple of days that has given an open door of opportunity that we can reverse some of the stuff that Northam has created as a result of with Dominion, because we believe if Northam's no longer in office, we still have an open door to go back and refute some stuff that he did and allowed Dominion to do to take that land or to bring that compressor station in. I believe that. I truly believe that one way, hook, crook, or sinker, some of the stuff that has happened is going to be unraveled and it's going to be exposed, you know. My organization is Bridging the Gap in Virginia. We're coming up on 10 years now. I've been fighting the injustices in the justice system in the Commonwealth of Virginia. I work with formerly and currently incarcerated convicted felons, men and women. And based on the laws and the legislation in the Commonwealth of Virginia, I sat in a 2-day seminar that was funded by the Kresge Foundation, of which, in that the facilitator said, in the Commonwealth of Virginia, what the exact nature of what's going on is systemic, structured racism. It is permeated in all facets of life in the Commonwealth of Virginia, whether it be environmental racism, social racism, economic racism, educational racism. All of that is a part of Virginia. There was a gentleman by the name of Mr. Glass, Carter Glass, in 1902 at the first Constitution Convention for the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Virginia. He said by individuals that commit a crime or make a mistake in life or a crime being put on them were disenfranchised from the voting system. He said back then in 1902, by disenfranchising those individuals is a means and a ways to keep the darkies out of our government. That has not, no one has ever spoke against that since for over 100 years. No one in the General Assembly, no one in, and listen, and I'm not just the current now, I'm talking about all the past governors, have not done anything to denounce that. As even Governor Wilder, they have not done anything to denounce that fact that this was a edict set out back in 1902. In the 21st century now, Virginia is still practicing Jim Crow laws. They still are. So, of course, we're going to be infected environmental. Of course, we're going to be affected socially, economically, education. You know, the ills of the Commonwealth of Virginia, such as crime, substance abuse, lack of education for our children, is a direct result of the systemic racism. Individuals cannot get ahead because the government is so situated to deny them to move forward. So that also falls into play when it comes to trying to educate their children. They don't have a father figure in that household. It comes time when we're trying to make a living for our folk in Buckingham, Union Hill. But these folk, because, again, you know, our former governor is in the pocket of Dominion because they allow for, you know, corporate funding for all these politicians. So they can use that corporate funding and use that influence that these corporations can get what they want because they got their hands in their pockets and holding them hostage. I've gone on too much, I think, huh? But it's high time that, you know, and I'm grateful to Dr. Finley as well as to you students. When I was here like a month ago, where, a suggestion of possible renewable energies for biofuels came across the table, that's a possibility of research on our property in Buckingham and Union Hill. We have not just the 25 acres of which they want a portion of through eminent domain. We have over 52 acres of land that I think is ripe and raw for tobacco. That we can utilize the growth of the tobacco to create geofuel and help create something new and different in renewable energies. Through my organization, Bridging the Gap in Virginia, I work with convicted felons, and I'm very viable, very open in the Buckingham prison system. So if we can connect those individuals that are incarcerated with how to train them on solar paneling, so when they come out of incarceration, they'll have gainful employment. There's a lot of mechanisms and ways that we can flip the script on Dominion and make them pay for it. So I'm counting on you students to continue your studies so that when you make that trip to Buckingham, which I believe in is within another month or so, you'll already have it in mind of what you intend to do on the Harper land to increase renewable energies. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Richard. Our next set of speakers, John and Ruby Laurie. John and Ruby live in Union Hill in Buckingham County. The couple live near the site of the massive proposed compressor station that is a part of the Atlantic Coast Pipeline. John, who traces his roots to the freed slaves who founded Union Hill, is a farmer and retired veteran, and a member of Concern for the New Generation, as well as Friends of Buckingham. John and Ruby?
My name is Ruby Laurie. I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to be doing.
If you could just tell us a little bit about yourselves and what you all have been doing.
Okay. Like I said, my name is Ruby Laurie, and I'm originally from Southern California, and I moved here with my husband almost 15 and a half years ago. So I do consider myself a member of the Union Hill community and also this great state of Virginia, which seems to be having a lot of problems. But not only here, I know that it's all over, even in California. But after I moved here with my husband, he wanted to come back. And I understood why he wanted to come back, because Buckingham is beautiful. It is right now it has pristine air, clean air, no pollution, no poisonous gases that will happen if the compressor station comes to our area. But I'm praying and hoping that it will not come to our area. It's a stress-free area. That is until about 4.5 years ago. Mm-hmm. But I love it. And my family, when they come out, and my friends from California, they really love it because of its peace and quiet. Now, I have a great concern for our water, because Dominion could not guarantee that the pipes would not leak, because that was one of the questions I asked. What happens if the pipes leak? Will you guarantee that they won't? They could not. So that's going to affect our water, because in the Union Hill community, we all depend on well water. And without it, you can't survive without water. You can survive without food for several days, but you cannot survive without water. But it's not only us, it also will affect the wildlife, the domestic animals. So it will affect us being able to raise gardens to, grow vegetables that we can survive on. But I just want to say that environmental justice for people of color should actually be called environmental injustice. As you may know, communities with people of color are chosen for these toxic waste facilities. These facilities are life-threatening because, like I said, of the poisonous gases that we will have to breathe every day. And the DEQ is saying, oh, it's okay, you have such clean air, it's not going to affect you. But it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out if you have to breathe these poisonous gases every day, you are going to become sick. I know that they've had cases of cancer, asthma, nosebleeds, you name it. So that's why that I have always been adamantly against the injustice that they want to put into our area. And even many studies have shown that hazardous and solid waste facilities, power stations, and industrial plants, like the proposed ACP and compressor station, are excessively sited in communities of color and low-income neighborhoods. So that's about all I have to say on this issue, because my husband is going to take over and he's going to say a little bit more, or a lot.
Before we hear from Mr. John Laurie, if you have questions, if you could pass them to the ends, Cadest and I are going to come collect them and start compiling. So if you haven't done that yet, we'll stand at the back and we'll come back through. But if you have a question you would like to hear from the panelists after we hear from our other two panelists, please do write those on the index cards that were provided.
You're on.
Good evening. My name is John W. Laurie. I'm a farmer. I retired in Buckingham. I came back home after 40 years. And I enjoy this countryside because it's more natural to me. But unfortunately, have to deal with this proposed compressor station issue. I often ask, why me? Then the answer is, why not? We are dealing with many issues involving corporate America. The injustice that's being done. This one happens in the Union Hill community. First, I had a problem dealing with why and how this proposed compressor station came into our agricultural community. Yet to this day, I have not heard the truth. I've heard many misconceptions, many lies, many paid liars, and many natural liars, but the truth has not really come forward. So we've been fighting this monster here for over 4 years, and yet to no avail. Our agencies, our government agencies, DEQ, ACP, our county government, our board of supervisors, planning commission, none of them was listening to us. Our ACP, we thought they were turning their ear toward us back in November of 2018. Then our used-to-be governor dismissed 2 of the board members, which it appears that that decision took a step backwards. So in December, when we met again, it was 4-0 decision to grant Dominion the permits. Now, with all, this is 2019, we have solar energy, we have wind energy, we have, in other words, we have clean energy where we have many jobs to offer the community, to offer the state, and we can eliminate a lot of use of fossil fuel. But we have a leader of our nation who's pushing fossil fuel, and it has a domino effect, and it's coming all the way down to Union Hill community. So some of the things that we can do and has been doing is electing officials who are not connected with Dominion money, who can stand up against this injustice. Once you collect the money, you have to be obedient to Dominion. And this is what's been taking place. We will not stop fighting this project because we want to see cleaner energy. We want our air to remain as is. We want our water to remain as is. We don't need any group to decide how much pollution they can add to our air and tell us it's okay. You can breathe this because it's equal to the air that we breathe in another area. This in summary about what the Air Pollution Control Board told us. That's not sufficient. Every individual is a steward of God's creation. Whether we be obedient or not, we are still a steward. We are responsible for this earth. It's up to the individual, but we still have to answer to that. And the few dollars that we receive or promise to receive is not worth where we'll spend eternity. So I'd rather leave the earth as God had left it and help people to seek the better life, the higher level of life, rather than to please some greedy men seeking riches at the expense of others. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Mr. and Mrs. Laurie. Our final panelist, at least for this panel, is Dr. Lakshmi Floor. She is a minister, anthropologist, environmental justice researcher, and activist right here in Virginia. She's worked with resident elders to conduct the Union Hill Community Participatory Action Household Study, documented slave plantation history and freedmen heritage, and created the People's Tribunal on Human Rights and Environmental Justice Impacts of the Atlantic Coast and Mountain Valley pipelines. Lakshmi.
Thanks, Kendall. Well, I'm honored to be here and to be with these people that have come from a long way. We're all excited to hear about them, in the afternoon, because I want to start at the end because I have so little time. You heard about the study. I want to say to students in the back, I went back to school at 40 years old and started to get my PhD, doing it the hard way, single mom, got full scholarship, went full-time, worked full-time. And when I read the Atlantic Coast Pipeline, and then when I read the Atlantic Coast Pipeline application and saw that in the part where they were supposed to talk about how many people were right around that only Virginia compressor station, and it was exactly none. They used a census tract study. What I want to say is, I don't know if you know anything about census tract, but it doesn't capture, especially in communities of color, low-income communities, who's actually there, because when people don't know who you are and you knock on their door, they don't open that door. In Buckingham, when we did our study, our door-to-door study, we would stand outside, we would wait, because we would see people knew we were driving up. But we were also doing it in teams with one senior member of the community and then one UVA student from the Virginia Student Environmental Coalition as a scribe, not talking, just writing down everything that everybody said. And that is how we got in the door, and that's how we got a really accurate reading, which was 600% higher than what that census tract was able to find. So what I want to say is like, what am I doing? I'm a white woman here on a panel. This is about environmental racism. This is my spiritual path, has been my spiritual path since I was a young girl, grew up in a segregation. I'm a lot older than everybody here, except for these two. We're the elders. We saw those times. I made decisions a long time ago what my life was going to be about. And when I realized that they had erased and put zero history for a place, I knew, because I had lived in Buckingham since 1979, because I helped to found Yogaville there and the Yogaville before it in Connecticut and in New York before that. That had been my path, an interfaith path. It's not Hindu, it's yoga, it's ancient. This is my spiritual practice. When I saw they had said there are zero cultural resources there, it was time to dig into every place we could, plantation documents that were only available in UVA, dig into that, use my training that I gotten in PhD at the service. But then, and I want to say this is really important, so it's like the only thing that I feel like I can really share, is you cannot make a survey and walk into a community and expect to find out the kinds of things. The experts are sitting at this table. They're the ones who help you build the questionnaire. What do you say? Workshop it. Think about what is appropriate in that community. There's no universal. It's not a survey. We sat for hours in people's houses. We were asking about their pre-existing health conditions. You cannot do that if you're not trained by, taking ethical protocols, NIH studies. How are you going to put that information so nobody can ever link a household with a condition? When we started, people didn't even want to link a household with a race. So that is how you use your training to protect, but they're telling you, how do you do it? How do you say it? How do you bring up about why do we want to talk about race in a place where it's silenced? If you speak up about race in Buckingham, you're retaliated against. And that's what happened in those meetings in those early days. So I want to say, everybody can, as a white person, I do this as atonement, at-one-ment. I mean, my family came from Denmark, okay, but the Danes, they had slaves, I'm just saying, it's how do we use what we have together when we share a strong desire for racial justice, for economic justice, for equal access to the shared resources. These do not belong to the white people, like the way that these corporations are plowing in and saying, what you have, well, we want it. We want it for our stockholders. And darned if you're growing cattle there, we're sending it through. And everyone in this room, if you turn on your lights, you're paying Dominion. And Dominion is going to charge all of us for that environmental justice, that environmental racism. So everyone in this room who has Dominion is bought into this. We're like providing racism. So we have to think about, like, what are we going to do about that, each person? So I just want to segue quickly to solar, because we're so grateful. Dr. Finley-Brook. I'm a lot older, so I can only call her Mary, Dr. Mary Finley-Brook. I'm old enough to be your mom. So we have been so privileged to have her come into our life as part of the Advisory Council on Environmental Justice. Last March, when she heard these folks talk about, she was like, yeah, I'm on, and has done everything that she possibly can for us. And this is just the latest version. But, the other thing we really want to talk about is we want to go forward, because we want to create Buckingham. I'm from Buckingham too. We want to create Buckingham to be a place, like a model of how you can take this kind of situation and completely create sustainable energy. Smack Dominion upside the head by saying, hey, you have a solar farm that you were so proud of in Buckingham on a white heritage farm that you're talking to Amazon, oh yeah, you can have all solar. Well, they're trying to put fossil fuel poison into an African American freedman community on just a couple miles away. They didn't say, let's do solar farms. They have a farm. It can be a solar farm. So we're forming the Solar Collaboratory. Students from University of Richmond are so involved. We're really excited about the possibilities. We're talking about heritage tourism. I was one of the founders of our Yogaville. Our teacher, Swami Satchidananda, founded it, but I was a founding community member, found the property, and we were so intimidated because it was so segregated when we moved here in '79. It's like we're finally coming together, the yogis and the Baptists, and to say, like, what is it that we share that's proactive for our future there, that's the heritage of freedmen culture there is celebrated and people know about it, and we take it out of the burnt history where vigilantes burnt the courthouse in Buckingham on the night the 15th Amendment was passed, giving former slaves the right to vote, because there were 2-to-1 majority of those people, and they could vote for restitution for enslavement. Burnt it to the ground to destroy those records of enslavement. We want atonement. We want to put that out there so people who want to learn about that kind of freedman past and the good things, the building of 2 churches, the families that still come, 500 at a time every summer. We don't want them to be breathing poisonous air when they come back to Buckingham. So help us. We look so forward to hearing about the solar work, and Reverend Woodberry is our, we look so up to him in the work on solar and your program in Mississippi. So thank you so much.
Mary, could I say one more thing?
Yes.
The Lord knows that we're retired.
Yeah.
And, He has a way of taking you out of your comfort zone. Because my plan was to sit in the rocking chair, look up at the stars at night, the bright moon. But apparently he had other plans. And one of the things that happened to us is that we met a lot of people from all over the United States.
Yes.
And if this had not happened, I would not have met them. I even met people in the Buckingham area that I didn't know.
That's right.
But I am just grateful for all those people that have come and helped us. And and helped other people that are in the same type of situation. So I just had to say that. Thank you.
And actually, I have to say one more thing too. Like I said to Mary, I want to be on this panel because I really want to connect up with Angela because we were at a panel here before and we talked about solar and solar collaboratory, and it just feels really important to us to look at all of the environmental justice along the whole Atlantic Coast Pipeline, and the Atlantic Connector is going into Norfolk, and so it's really important that we not just look at Union Hill or just look at, we really want to bridge those so we're stronger together and we're bringing in all that whole picture into the light.
We talking one Virginia accountability.
Well, let's give all of our panelists another big round of applause. And I see that Cadest is over there ready with questions from our audience, so I will pass it over to you.
Thank you, Kendall. I'm just going to read a couple of questions from the audience, and feel free to jump in and answer any of the ones that you think that you can't answer. Okay, so we have a lot of questions about how can students, how can white people, and how can individual folks just help the fight for environmental justice, especially for Buckingham specifically. And then we also have a question on how do we counter industry's efforts to silence property owners? How do we stop the purchase of homes by eminent domain? And then we also have another question asking what would it take to keep Union Hill community safe and healthy? So.
I can answer.
I'm an outsider, so I want to say this for Buckingham County. It don't matter where you are or where you at. You use your expertise to help. You make sure that the 21st century children, y'all should be talking about this stuff. You should be going into the community, talking to the elders, making sure you're using all your know-how on each individual level to go in and be yourself, listen, and make sure that you're helping the elders help themselves. Not do for them, not tell them what to do. Don't go in with an agenda, but use your expertise, no matter where you are, to shed light to what's going on. And remember, injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere if we're together.
I just briefly say, pay attention to what's going on in General Assembly. There's a bill right now currently one is to stop eminent domain if it has nothing, especially if they're going against zoning. As Ruby or John said, Buckingham Union Hill is zoned for agriculture.
That's right.
So for them to come on and defy that's something that goes that took place in the General Assembly, that took place in our former governor, to allow them to took place in the county supervisors, to allow them to rephrase that industrial component into an agricultural zone. So there's politics played in it. If you pay attention to politics, that's the ways that you can fight the politics and the politicians. You folk have already helped us by seeing our cause, working in our cause, and you're going to be the creators of renewable, sustainable energy in Union Hill. Right, sir? Yeah. Very good.
Also, I think everyone here has a lot of expertise. We just don't realize it. It's like when you're called, you get it. So I would just say follow the piece of it that makes sense to you. So we have an amazing expert here, right? Irene Leach. She's a professor at Virginia Tech, and she's been working on issues of consumer advocacy that has been in relation to Dominion for a long time. If you have some extra time, please check in with Professor Leach. I'm doing the same thing. These are people my age, so I keep calling them by their first names. I'm sorry. Yeah, so really to get involved. The key is somehow, someplace, grab on, and then that'll You know what I mean? It's like pulling a thread, and then you'll see a larger picture, and you'll find that way. But I really think that each one of us as ratepayers, we have to figure stuff out. We created this thing called Lights Out, Power Out. We don't know where it's going, but it's really about having people think when they turn on their lights and turn off their lights, like, where's the source of that power coming from, and what do I know about the people? Like, do I know that there's one of the most massive compressor stations in the nation planned for this place of Union Hill, where people are within 150 feet? So if you know that, how do you feel when you turn on the lights, when you know that Dominion's going to charge you for that? So it's that kind of thing. That maybe seems a little extra, but then there's Colin, writing, legislators is incredibly important. But the other thing is, you can come to Union Hill because we're going to make ways, we're working on ways for people to come out there. And there, Mary's class had the most, had the most amazing ideas. Like, we were just completely blown away by how creative they were, right, Angela? They were coming up with these ideas, and we're like, yes, this is why, we're so glad you're in college and you've got this professor. And so please jump on, because it's also really important to us folks who are older. We get tired, we don't have the same kind of energy we did. It inspires us. We need you. So, at every age.
Okay, I just want to say one thing. That is important to me for health. The most important to me are your prayers, because there is power in prayer. And Dominion thinks that they have the power, but I know someone that has more power, and that is my Lord and Savior. So prayer is what I desire. That will help. Definitely will help.
Were you going to say something, Angela?
I was just going to say, whatever you do, be mindful of what's already there, and don't try to recreate the wheel. Just try to tighten it up, put some oil to it, and make it better. But first and foremost, make sure you have those children right there on the front line, right there with you, so that they'll know how to find these records, and they'll know their history, that they are a Freeman community. And that's why I thank God for my elders, for my community, and we've been through a lot. Imagine, I come from Hampton Roads. Every battle that ever been fought in that water was fought on our backs. In some kind of way, we came through. And like the sister said, the power of prayer, right? So our family started the House of Prayer, 6 Mount Zion, Second Baptist Church, Miracle Temple now, so the power of prayer worked. And a family that pray together, stay together. And remember, we have a biological family, a street family, and a spiritual family. And if you use the Trinity, you can be free like me. Free your mind. Free your mind. Don't click up. Help where you can help, and become one with God, and he'll show you the way.
Now, Kadest, I know you had about 3 or 4 questions. Did we tackle them all, or are there still some left hanging?
I think everything is answered, but there's one more question that I would like to ask you guys. This is related to the job training. How might job training centered around renewables be utilized to empower disenfranchised people? And I know this can help us transition to the next panel, so it would be great if you can answer this question.
Well, I'll say, if everybody here, if you don't know Reverend Woodberry, stand up, Reverend Woodberry. Stand up, Mustafa Ali. Stand up, Yasin. Stand up, Brother Dale. And stand up, Brother Marlon. That's the dream team right there, y'all. I promise you. And I just want to thank them first for leading by example, for coming this far, for having that entrepreneur spirit and that workforce development mind to say we can if we work together. Thank y'all.
I've been operating my organization, Bridging the Gap in Virginia, for 10 years now. I have a partnership with the City of Richmond, the Office of Community Wealth Building, where I help individuals that come out of incarceration with whatever industry-recognized certification trainings that they need. I am board of Federal Bureau of Prisons, offender workforce development specialist. workforce development is my second nature. Individuals need employment, they call me. Individuals that are coming out of prison that need employment, they call me. I have offices in Richmond and in Newport News, where we work with individuals and partner with organizations and agencies to help put people to work. And when we get to the Mississippi and get the certification in solar panel training, that will be another component of bridging the gap in Virginia to train individuals coming in prison or while still incarcerated how to install solar paneling. So by the time they're released from incarceration, they will be on board to have gainful employment in renewable, sustainable energy.
And Richard's point is we want to do as much as we can with every single dollar. So you can see all those intersections. If we do solar collaboratory and we're putting in sustainable, accessible solar in Buckingham, let's say, then we have job training doing that, right? Learning how to do the solar installation, learning how to set up the farm. But we also, I've applied for it, we'll see if it works, with the National Trust for Historic Preservation, to do the same thing we did with community participatory, going door to door, doing that with the Friedman History, but having an internship program so that students from Buckingham High School, possibly from college, could also participate because we want them to learn these skills. This is very important skills of working in communities, but they also could maybe learn how to do solar because we're going to combine these projects. We get job training, we get people out of prison, we get the high schools involved, and then we bring solar to a place like Buckingham, and no one can say, oh, we're bringing fossil fuel here and ruining your home.
And you folk here already will be involved. So don't feel like you're negated with what you hear, because you're already involved in help creating this with your ideas and your studies and your research being directed by this wonderful person here, Dr. Finley-Brook, that she's going to make sure you folk get what you need to move this land forward in renewable energies and environmental justice.
I would be so wrong if I didn't give a shout out. So girl power to Miss LaTanya Wallace. Please stand. She's the data person. She's the boots on the ground. Our Booth Foundation. I definitely appreciate you. And I hope you're listening, because we're going to have to articulate this thing when we take it back home and handle our business. So thank you for coming. And I appreciate you for calling me and letting me know you was going to hold us down.
Well, that's all the time we have for our panel, our first panel. I want to quickly make a few announcements, and then I think there will be a pizza? No pizza? A break, just a break. No food, sorry, no food. But Empowerment Fest. I have a few announcements. So my first one is that Max is here with Work FM, which is a local Richmond radio station, 93.9, and we're really excited to let you all know that it'll be broadcasting later on today. Second announcement, we have later in the week. Do you know what day yet? Okay, but stay tuned. And so we also have some posters on the doors in the back, and you can please write your comments or any feelings that you're having after experiencing this first panel. There are markers back there, so remember to do that on your way out. And then one of our last announcements is that Southeast Care Coalition is hosting their annual Environmental Justice Empowerment Festival this Friday and Saturday down in Hampton from 1 to 6. And that's it. Thank you so much.
And thank my babies for staying woke. Stand up, y'all. Stand up. Thank my babies for staying woke. We appreciate y'all. Thank y'all. We appreciate y'all. I love y'all.